Let's learn English through easy stories. Today, we ask some people, what's the travel hack that everyone should know? Learning a few words in the local language. My best tip for you is that learning a few words in the local language can make a huge difference when traveling abroad. A couple of years ago, my boyfriend Sam and I decided to visit Japan. We were so excited because it was our first time in Asia. We had heard so much about Japan's beautiful temples, delicious food, and kind people. But we were also a bit nervous because we didn't speak Japanese. Before we left, we made a promise to each other. We would learn a few essential phrases to help us get by. I started by learning hello and thank you, while Sam focused on ordering food phrases. We practiced together every night for 2 weeks. Arigato gozaimasu, thank you very much. Sumimasen, excuse me. And konnichiwa, hello. It wasn't much, but we figured it would be better than nothing. On the flight, I couldn't help but feel nervous. Would we be able to communicate with the locals? When we arrived in Tokyo, everything felt exciting and new. We were greeted with friendly smiles, but most of the signs were in Japanese. We decided to visit a local restaurant for lunch. As we entered, the host smiled at us and asked, "Do you understand Japanese?" In Japanese, of course. I nervously said, "Sumimasen, English?" To my surprise, the host smiled even more brightly. She immediately switched to English and asked us to sit down. We were so relieved. At the restaurant, we started practicing the phrases we had learned. "Sumimasen, one more water please," I said in my best Japanese. The waiter smiled and nodded. "Arigato gozaimasu," Sam said to the waiter when he handed us our order. It was small, but I noticed that the locals seemed to appreciate our effort. At another shop, we wanted to buy souvenirs. I said, "How much is this?" In Japanese, of course. Sorry, I do not remember that sentence anymore. Anyway, the cashier seemed pleasantly surprised and helped us with a smile. When we left the store, Sam said, "It feels so good to connect with them, even just a little." The next day, we visited a temple. As we walked around, we tried out our Japanese with other tourists and locals. One older man stopped us and said, "Your Japanese is good. You make me happy." We both smiled, grateful for the little effort we had put into learning. By the end of our trip, we felt much more confident in our ability to communicate. We learned that people appreciate when you try to speak their language, even if it's just a few words. It made our travel experience richer and more meaningful. So that is my tip for you. Always learn a few basic phrases in the local language. It will help you connect with the locals and make your experience even better. Using paper maps saved my day. My pro tip is that buying paper maps can save you a lot of trouble during your travels. A few years ago, I went on a solo trip to Paris. It was my first time visiting Europe, and I couldn't wait to explore the famous landmarks. I had spent months planning my trip, researching all the places I wanted to visit, and packing my bags with excitement. But there was one thing I forgot to do: checking the maps of the city. Well, it wasn't like I actually forgot. I, just like many other people nowadays, always have at least one online map on my phone. When I arrived at the airport, I was all set to use my phone for directions. I thought to myself, "It's time! Google Maps, please lead me to places." But as soon as I opened the app, I saw the dreaded message, "You need an internet connection." I quickly realized, though, that I didn't have any roaming data. I had no Wi-Fi, and it was too late to fix it. In the middle of my panic, I noticed an elderly lady walking by. She was holding a paper map, something I have not seen in ages. I quickly approached her and asked, "Excuse me, where did you get that map?" She smiled and pointed to a small shop nearby, saying, "I got it from there." Without wasting any time, I ran to the shop and bought a paper map of the city. It felt like a lifeline in my hands. The moment I opened it, I felt so much more confident. With the map in hand, I was able to find my way back to the hotel easily. Even though I had Wi-Fi at the hotel, I kept that map with me every time I went out. My phone's Wi-Fi connection was weak in the city, so I decided to stick with the map. The first time I used it was to visit the Louvre Museum. I walked confidently through the streets, checking my map along the way. Another time, I found a little cafe with a view and I wanted to get there on my own. I had the map in my hand and followed it precisely. The paper map made it easier to figure out which direction to take. The third time was when I used the map to find a hidden gem, a small bookshop tucked in a quiet alley. Without that paper map, I would have missed it entirely. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Technology isn't always reliable when you're traveling. The paper map saved me so many times. Now I never travel with one, no matter where I go. So that is a tip that actually saved my life. Always keep a paper map with you when you travel. It's a simple tool that can make your trip much easier. You never know when it will be your lifesaver. Packing as light as possible. Packing light can make a huge difference when traveling. Remember that. It sounds so basic and simple, but not everyone remembers it. So, a year ago, I decided to take a solo trip to Europe. I was so excited to explore cities like Paris, Rome, and many more. But I made the mistake that many first-time travelers make. I packed way too much. When I arrived at the airport, I realized how heavy my luggage was. I could barely lift it into the cab, and it barely fit in the overhead compartment on the plane. I thought, this is going to be such a hassle. In Paris, I had to take the metro to my Airbnb. The stairs at the station were narrow, and the escalators were broken. I had to drag my heavy luggage up 3 flights of stairs. By the time I reached my room, I was exhausted. And I hadn't even started my trip yet. I knew something had to change. The next day, I decided to take a deep breath and rethink my packing strategy. I emptied my suitcase and started over. I took out extra clothes, shoes, and gadgets that I didn't really need. I focused on the essentials, clothes that could be mixed and matched, a compact camera, and only 1 pair of shoes. By the time I finished, I had a much smaller, lighter suitcase. It was like a weight had been lifted, literally and figuratively. With my new, light suitcase, I was able to move around the city much easier. I could walk through cobblestone streets without getting tired. I didn't have to worry about finding a place to store a huge bag. It made my experience more enjoyable and stress-free. One of the best moments was when I took a train from Paris to Switzerland. I was able to jump on and off the train without worrying about my luggage. I could focus on the beautiful views of the Alps instead of struggling with a heavy bag. At the end of my trip, I felt so much more relaxed. I had learned an important lesson. Traveling light is not only practical, but also liberating. Please take note. Pack only what you need and leave the rest behind. It will make your travels much easier and more enjoyable. Less is more when it comes to packing. Talking to the locals. My tip for you is simple. Always talk to locals when you travel. Trust me, you will learn things you can never find on the internet. A few years ago, my girlfriend Mia and I went on a summer vacation to a beautiful tropical island. We were excited to explore, and we were very confident also. Because we had researched a lot before our trip. But when we arrived, nothing seemed as fun as we imagined. The beaches were crowded, The restaurants were full, and every tourist spot was packed with people. On the third morning, while having breakfast, my girlfriend and I were discussing how we felt. That's when the waitress overheard us and said, "You should try the quiet beach near the lighthouse. It's hidden from the crowds and very peaceful. Me and my sisters often go there after work." We were surprised and decided to check it out. The beach was everything she promised, very peaceful, with clear water and no tourists around. It felt like we had discovered a secret paradise. Later that day, we started talking to more locals, asking for recommendations on where to go next. One local fisherman told us about a hiking trail leading to a hidden waterfall. We followed his advice, and the journey was magical. The waterfall was stunning, surrounded by nature and completely empty. It felt so peaceful that we spent hours just sitting and enjoying the moment. We realized that asking locals had made all the difference. By the end of the trip, we had discovered so many hidden gems. From quiet beaches to secret trails, everything was more enjoyable. Our vacation had turned from ordinary to extraordinary. So, my advice is simple. Always ask locals for tips. They know the best spots that tourists never find. Booking accommodations near public transport. My advice is very simple. Booking accommodations near public transport. Last summer, my family and I decided to go on a vacation to a big city. We had been planning the trip for months and were excited to explore. However, we had one challenge. We were on a tight budget. We knew we wanted to see the city's famous landmarks, but we didn't want to spend too much on taxis or car rentals. So, after researching, we decided to book a hotel near a metro station. It seemed like a small decision, but it turned out to be one of the best ones we made. When we arrived, the hotel was just a 2-minute walk from the metro station. At first, we were a bit skeptical. Would it really be that easy to travel around the city without a car? We checked in and settled into our room, eager to start our adventure. As we walked out of the hotel, the metro station was right there, with its colorful signs and the hum of the trains arriving and leaving. It felt like we were already part of the city. The first day, we decided to visit a famous museum on the other side of town. It was a long way from our hotel, and we thought it might be difficult to get there. But then we remembered the metro. We walked to the station and got our tickets. The train ride was quick, and we arrived at the museum in just 20 minutes. We couldn't believe how easy and affordable it was. No taxis, no parking, no stress. Just a smooth, comfortable ride. The museum was amazing, and we spent the whole afternoon there. Later, we wanted to explore the local market in the evening, which was on the other side of the city. Instead of getting in a taxi or driving, we took the metro again. The train was clean, air-conditioned, and not too crowded. We arrived in no time, and the market was full of colors and aromas. We walked through the stalls, sampling local food and chatting with the vendors. It was such an authentic experience, and we wouldn't have been able to enjoy it as much if we had spent all day in a car. Over the next few days, we continued using the metro to get around. We went to parks, visited hidden cafes, and discovered beautiful neighborhoods, all without worrying about getting stuck in traffic. Our kids loved it too. They enjoyed the excitement of the trains and the new places we discovered together. Every day felt like an adventure, and we were always back at the hotel in time for a good rest. By staying close to public transport, we saved a lot of money and time. We didn't have to pay for expensive taxis or deal with the hassle of parking. Instead, we spent more time exploring the city and less time on the road. Plus, we felt like locals living there. So, my advice to you is clear. Don't be afraid to use public transport. Always carry a reusable water bottle. My advice may sound cheap, but to me, it is very important to always carry a reusable water bottle. Years ago, I went on a solo trip to Europe, excited to explore new cities. I was walking around the city in the heat, so I quickly realized I needed water. I stopped at a kiosk and bought a bottle of water for €2. It seemed like a small price to pay, but then it happened again the next day, and again the next day. I was buying bottled water constantly, and I started noticing how expensive it was. In fact, by the end of the week, I had spent more than €20 just on water. It was frustrating, and I began to feel like I was wasting money. On top of that, I realized how much plastic I was contributing to the environment. Every day, I threw away empty plastic bottles without thinking twice. One afternoon, I sat at a cafe near a famous square, sipping yet another bottle of water. As I watched the busy crowds pass by, I had a sudden thought. Why am I buying bottled water all the time? I could easily refill a bottle from a fountain or a restaurant. That's when I made a decision to change. The next morning, I bought a reusable water bottle from a local store. It wasn't expensive, and it was much more durable than the single-use plastic bottles. From that day on, I filled it up whenever I could, whether at fountains, cafes, or even public restrooms. I felt so much better knowing I wasn't wasting money or plastic. As I traveled from city to city, I kept my water bottle with me everywhere. I saved money, and I didn't have to buy water every time I was thirsty. More importantly, I noticed that it was so much more convenient. No more standing in long lines at kiosks, and no more carrying around empty bottles. My reusable water bottle became my travel companion. It fit easily in my bag and was always within reach when I needed it. By the end of my trip, I had saved so much money. But even more rewarding was knowing I wasn't contributing to plastic waste. I learned that a small change, like carrying a reusable water bottle, could make a big difference for both my wallet and the environment. So, my advice to you is clear. Always carry a reusable water bottle. It will save you money, help the environment, and make your trip so much easier. Trust me, you won't regret it. Thank you for watching. What was your favorite story from the video? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fun lessons. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next video.